The sun was slowly setting over the Tennessee hills, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. The small town of Green Hollow was known for its laid-back pace of life, where every face was familiar, and the days seemed to drag on between daily chores. At the gas station by the roadside, Hannah Clark watched the flow of cars, trucks, and motorcycles passing along the highway, some speeding by, others stopping to fill up before continuing their journey. It was just another workday for her, a 32-year-old woman bearing the weight of supporting her family. She split her time between the gas station and taking care of her mother, Evelyn, and her daughter, Lily. Life in Green Hollow didn't offer many opportunities, but Hannah was grateful for the little she had. The gas station, with its weathered facade and the constant smell of oil and gasoline, was where she spent most of her days. That afternoon, an elderly man arrived at the station. He got out of an old car, a model that seemed to be pulled from a distant past, and slowly walked up to the gas pump. Hannah watched from a distance as he fumbled through his pockets looking for something. His small, tired eyes showed a hint of confusion. When he finally walked into the convenience store to pay, tension was visible on his face. He approached the counter where Hannah stood. "Excuse me, miss, I think I left my wallet at home," he said, his voice trembling and unsure. Some of the other employees nearby exchanged cynical glances and whispered among themselves. "Another old man trying to pull a fast one," came a murmur, followed by stifled chuckles. Hannah looked at the man. There was something about his expression that deeply touched her. He wasn't just another customer. There was a sincerity, a vulnerability that reminded her of her own grandfather, who had passed away a few years ago. Without hesitation, she made a decision. "Don't worry," she replied with a warm smile. "I'll cover it for you. You can head home and pay me back whenever you can." The man looked at her, surprised, almost in disbelief. His eyes sparkled with gratitude as he nodded, mumbling words of thanks. He turned to leave, walking slowly back to his car. As the old man walked away, one of the employees approached Hannah. "Seriously? You paid for him?" he asked, laughing mockingly. "Good luck waiting for him to come back. Can't you see he's just trying to take advantage?" Hannah sighed, tired of the negativity around her. It wasn't the first time her coworkers made cruel or dismissive comments, but she knew what she had done. Helping that man was the right thing, and that was enough for her. That evening, the incident reached the ears of the gas station manager, Philip Monroe. A strict and disciplined man, Philip didn't like exceptions and followed the rules to the letter. He called Hannah into the office as soon as her shift ended. The room felt oppressive, with shelves full of document folders and the distant sound of the highway outside. "So, you paid for a customer's gas without a wallet?" Philip asked bluntly, adjusting his glasses. "Yes, sir," Hannah replied, trying to stay calm. He seemed genuinely confused, and I believe that— Philip interrupted her, raising his hand. "The rules are clear. We can't allow that to happen. It may seem like a small thing, but it sets a precedent. If we let one slip, others will follow." He sighed, crossing his arm. "I'm sorry, Hannah, but I have to let you go." Hannah felt the ground crumble beneath her feet. The job at the gas station, though simple, was essential for her. Her mind immediately raced to her mother, Evelyn, and her daughter, Lily. How would she support her household now? But no matter how much she tried to reason with him, Philip stood firm in his decision. There was a weary expression on his face and something else. A hidden sadness she couldn't quite understand. Perhaps there was more behind his rigid adherence to the rules than met the eye. With a heavy heart, Hannah left the gas station office and headed home. The journey to her modest house on the outskirts of town felt longer that night. When she arrived, she found her mother sitting in a worn-out armchair, her hands visibly aching from arthritis, while Lily, her daughter, was doing her homework at the kitchen table. "Mom, are you okay?" Lily asked, her bright eyes looking up at Hannah. Hannah took a deep breath, feeling the weight of responsibility. She knew she had to tell the truth, but the words seemed stuck in her throat. Hannah looked around her small living room. The house was simple, almost humble, but there was a comforting aura that radiated from the small mementos scattered around the room. Family photographs, Lily's drawings pinned to the wall, and Evelyn's cozy armchair, where she spent most of her days, stood in contrast to the bitter news Hannah needed to share. She had lost her job and didn't know how she would support her family moving forward. "Mom?" Lily repeated, this time with a more concerned tone. Hannah approached her daughter and gently stroked her soft hair, feeling her mother's attentive gaze as well. Even with the pain from her arthritis, Evelyn never missed when something was wrong. Hannah looked at the two people she loved most in the world and felt momentarily unable to protect them from the storm ahead. With a heavy sigh, she sat down in the chair in front of Lily and in a restrained voice began to speak. "Sweetheart, today at work," her voice faltered for a moment. "I got fired." The word came out heavier than she had imagined. She saw the look of surprise in Lily's eyes, and a slight tension crossed Evelyn's face. Both of them knew what that meant. With Hannah's income being the only source of support, losing her job was more than a simple inconvenience. It was a direct blow to the stability of their home. "But why, Mom? What happened?" Lily asked, sensing the gravity of the situation but trying to understand. Hannah took a deep breath before responding. "An older man came to the gas station today. He seemed confused and forgot his wallet at home, so I paid for his gas. But the manager didn't like my decision. He thinks I did something wrong." Lily, only 9 years old, had already learned much about life's challenges. Unlike other kids her age who still lived carefree, she understood the weight of the responsibilities her mother carried. Despite that, her response surprised Hannah. "You did the right thing, Mom. Sometimes people do good things and don't get rewarded right away, but everything will turn out okay," Lily said with a sweetness that melted Hannah's he. Those words were like balm to her soul. Despite the pain of loss, hearing her daughter speak with such maturity and confidence rekindled a small spark of hope within her. Hannah smiled at Lily, feeling a gentle wave of emotion wash over her. She knew somehow she would have to find a solution. Evelyn, who had remained silent until then, spoke with her serene voice, full of wisdom acquired over the years. "Don't worry so much, my dear. I know things are hard, but I trust that something good will happen. You've always been strong. We'll get through this, just like we always have." Hannah nodded, even though she was still fighting to believe it inside. She knew her mother's faith came from years of struggles and triumphs. Evelyn had faced many challenges in life and always found a way to stay optimistic. But for Hannah, the fear of not being able to care for her daughter and mother was overwhelming. That night was long. After putting Lily to bed and helping her mother lie down, Hannah stayed awake, staring at the ceiling. The lack of a job meant no income for bills, food, and even Evelyn's medication. Each scenario that played in her mind seemed more hopeless than the last. Meanwhile, a few miles away, Tom Whitley was at home, recounting his day's story to his son, Ethan. Dinner was on the table, and with a tired but emotional voice, Tom described Hannah's kind gesture at the gas station. "She treated me with such respect, son," Tom said as Ethan listened intently. "She paid for my gas without even knowing me well. I don't know if there are many people like that around these days." Ethan, a successful businessman, looked at his father with affection. Tom had been a strong man all his life, but as the years passed and Alzheimer's took hold, his father's mind was beginning to slip. It broke Ethan's heart. He did what he could to care for Tom, but he knew the situation would only worsen over time. "And you're sure you remember her name?" Ethan asked, curious about the woman his father spoke so highly of. Tom nodded slowly, his mind still a bit foggy. Hannah Clark, that was her name. Ethan stored that information away. His father had been deeply touched by this woman's kindness, and that meant a great deal to him. Ethan had always been a man of strong values, but the impersonal nature of business, especially in the small town, sometimes made him forget the humanity behind each interaction. He felt he owed this woman more than just a simple thank you. The next day, armed with Hannah's name, Ethan decided he would meet her in person. He didn't know exactly what he would say, but he knew it was important to express his gratitude properly for both him and his father. As the new day dawned, Hannah was once again burdened with worry about her future. What she didn't know was that soon, an unexpected visit would change the course of her story. The sun had barely risen when Hannah was already up. Though her mind was still clouded with uncertainty, she knew she had to keep up her routine. Preparing breakfast for Evelyn and Lily was a way to keep her mind busy, pushing away, at least for a moment, the anxiety of what she would do without her job. The small kitchen was filled with familiar smells, the aroma of fresh coffee, the soft sound of toast warming, and milk heating on the stove. Lily came down the stairs after hearing the clink of plates. Her hair was messy, and her eyes still showed signs of sleep, but the smile on her face was unmistakable. "Good morning, Mom," she said softly as she sat at the table. "Good morning, my love," Hannah replied, placing a plate of toast and jam in front of her daughter. "Did you sleep well?" Lily nodded, carefully spreading the jam on a slice of toast. Evelyn, though moving more slowly due to arthritis, joined them at the table, giving Hannah a tired smile. The morning routine in that house was simple, but it carried a sense of peace, a brief moment of calm before the worries of the outside world crept into their thoughts. However, the quiet in the dining room was interrupted by an unexpected sound. Someone was knocking at the door. Hannah exchanged a curious look with her mother. It wasn't common to receive visitors so early, and the surprise in her eyes was evident. She got up and walked cautiously to the door, opening it slowly. On the other side stood a man she had never seen before, well-dressed, with a serious yet friendly expression. His hair was short and slightly graying at the temples, and he had an air of determination. "Are you Hannah Clark?" he asked, his voice deep but calm. "Yes, that's me," Hannah replied, unsure of the reason for his visit. "How can I help you?" The man smiled slightly, as if he had found exactly who he was looking for. "My name is Ethan Whitley. I believe you know my father, Tom." Hannah widened her eyes, surprised by the mention of the name. Tom, the elderly man she had helped at the gas station, was this man's father? Her heart beat a little faster, fearing something might be wrong. "Your father? Is he okay?" Hannah asked, concerned. Ethan quickly nodded, reassuring her. "He's fine, thanks to you. He told me what happened at the station yesterday and, well, I wanted to come personally to thank you," Ethan said, a sincere smile on his lips. "My father has been struggling with his memory lately, and what you did was more than just generosity. You preserved his dignity, and that means a lot to us." Hannah was speechless for a moment. She hadn't expected that such a simple gesture could have such an impact, let alone that Tom was someone so important in the lives of others. "I just did what I thought was right," she replied modestly. "He seemed confused and I couldn't leave him there with so many people laughing or doubting him." Ethan smiled again, but this time there was something deeper in his eyes. He seemed to be reflecting on her words. This simple, kind woman had touched something in his soul, something that made him question how many people overlooked the small acts of kindness in daily life. "My father told me your name is Hannah Clark. When he told me your story, I remembered that I'd heard of you before. Your name sounds familiar because, well, I own the station where you worked." Hannah blinked, surprised, and her heart sank for a moment. He owned the station? Did that mean he knew she had been fired because of the incident? Suddenly, the fear of being reprimanded returned to haunt her. "Yes, I was fired yesterday, right after helping your father," Hannah said, feeling the weight of the situation. "The manager thought I did something wrong." Ethan shook his head, a serious expression on his face. "I know. Philip told me. He's a good manager, but sometimes he can be too strict," Ethan said thoughtfully. "I wish I had had the chance to talk to him before that happened." Hannah remained silent. The feeling of helplessness still lingered, but something in Ethan's voice made her feel that maybe things weren't as bad as they seemed. "You know, I've always believed that people who take care of each other, who help without expecting anything in return, are the ones who make this world a better place. You did that for my father," Ethan continued. "And for that, I'd like to offer you a different opportunity." Hannah was even more intrigued. "A different opportunity? What did he mean by that?" "I need someone I can trust to manage the station," Ethan said, with an unexpected firmness in his voice. "Someone who understands what it means to treat people with respect and dignity." "I believe you're that person, Hannah." His words were like a shock. What was he saying? Offering her the position of manager? Hannah's mind began to spin with the idea, but also with insecurity. She was just a simple employee, with no management experience. How could she take on such a big responsibility? I don't even know what to say," Hannah stammered, looking at Ethan with a mix of disbelief and gratitude. "But I don't have any experience as a manager. I don't know if I'm the right person for this." Ethan smiled reassuringly. "Experience comes with time. What you have, which is much more important, is character," he said with conviction. "And I trust you'll learn what's necessary. Besides, you already know the station, the customers. I can't think of anyone better to take on the role." Hannah was visibly moved. After days of uncertainty and fear, his words brought a new perspective, a new chance she never expected. "Thank you so much," she said, her voice cracking with emotion. "I accept. I promise I won't let you down." "I know you won't," Ethan replied with a satisfied smile. Inside the house, Evelyn and Lily, who had been watching through the window, smiled. A new opportunity had arisen, bringing with it the promise of better days. Although the road ahead was uncertain, one thing was clear. Small acts of kindness can indeed change the course of a life. The days following Ethan's proposal brought a new energy into Hannah's life. The uncertainty that once suffocated her was replaced by a sense of hope. Although she knew that managing the station would be challenging, something inside her told her she was ready to face whatever came next. The support of her mother and Lily's constant encouragement pushed her to keep moving forward. The next morning, Hannah woke up before the sun. She made breakfast and, with a sparkle in her eyes, put on her uniform, this time with a new purpose. Looking at herself in the mirror, she saw a different woman, determined, confident, carrying the responsibility she always had, but now with the excitement of a new phase. As Hannah left the house, placing a gentle kiss on Lily's forehead, the little girl smiled at her mother. "It's going to be amazing, Mom. I know you're going to do great," Lily said, full of confidence. "Thank you, my love. I'm going to do my best for you, for Grandma." "For us?" Hannah replied, emotional at her daughter's support. The road to the station felt different that day. The fresh morning air, the distant Tennessee hills bathed in the soft light of dawn. Everything seemed a little more beautiful, a little brighter. Upon arriving at the station, she was met with curious glances from her former co-workers who knew about her new position. Some, like Rachel and Mark, greeted her enthusiastically, happy for her achievement. Others, like Ted, remained a bit reserved, perhaps with a hint of envy or distrust. However, Hannah was determined to show that regardless of what they thought, she deserved to be there. Ethan was waiting for her in the office, the same place where she had been fired just a few days earlier. But this time, the atmosphere was different. The shelves with documents were still there, but as she entered, she noticed a small change. A larger desk had been placed, with her name engraved on a small nameplate. "Welcome back, Hannah," Ethan said with a friendly smile as he stood up from his chair. "I think this room now belongs to you." Hannah smiled, a little nervous but feeling ready. "Thank you. It feels like a dream, but I'm ready to work hard," she replied, looking at the nameplate and feeling the weight of responsibility grow. Ethan nodded, watching her with admiration. Since deciding to offer her the position, he knew he wouldn't regret it. There was something about Hannah that conveyed honesty, a rare quality these days. Ethan knew he needed someone like that to run the business. But more than that, he realized that his own path was becoming unexpectedly intertwined with hers. There was no romantic connection between them, but there was a growing sense of admiration and respect. "Let's take it slow," Ethan suggested. "You already know the job, so the main thing now is to understand the administrative side. I'll be around, but I want you to feel comfortable making decisions." Hannah spent the rest of the day absorbing new information. Ethan was patient, explaining every detail about managing inventory, financial control, and even how to deal with suppliers. With each explanation, Hannah felt more confident, though she knew there would be a long road of learning ahead. At the end of that first day, as the sun began to set again over the hills, Ethan called Hannah for a talk in the small office. "You know, Hannah," he began, crossing his arms and looking out the window, "since I started managing my family's business, I've always felt like something was missing. Success in business doesn't always fill the void that certain losses leave behind. And when you helped my father, not knowing who he was, it made me realize what really matters. Taking care of people. I think, in a way, you taught me that." Hannah was surprised by the sincerity in Ethan's words. Although she was there to learn, it seemed that, in a way, she was also influencing how Ethan saw his own life. "I just did what anyone would do, Ethan," she replied modestly. "But I'm glad it meant so much to you." "It meant more than you know," Ethan said with a smile. "And I think my father would be happy to know you're here, helping take care of the place." Hannah nodded, feeling grateful for the opportunity. She knew the journey to get there hadn't been easy, but something in her heart told her she was in the right place at the right time. As Hannah adapted to her new job back home, Lily and Evelyn shared stories about their mother's first day as manager. Lily, her eyes shining with pride, was already imagining all the good things that would come with her mother's new position. Evelyn, on the other hand, watched her granddaughter with a serene smile, satisfied to see how, even amidst difficulties, life continued to offer unexpected opportunities. "I think your mom is going to change a lot of things at that station," Evelyn said thoughtfully. Lily smiled, certain that her mother, with her kindness and strength, would not only change the station but also many other lives. The small, modest house, though simple, was filled with love and gratitude. Hannah, now with a new sense of purpose, felt that there was a light ahead, guiding her toward a brighter future. By the end of that week, Ethan paid another visit to Hannah's house, bringing along Tom, who was eager to see the woman who had helped him so much. When Tom entered the house, the smile on his face upon seeing Hannah was one of the most rewarding things she had ever experienced. "I told you I'd be back, didn't I?" Tom joked, his eyes gleaming with joy. Hannah laughed, remembering the moment when she paid for the gas and promised that he could reimburse her when he was able. "And I never doubted it, Tom." Ethan watched the scene with a satisfied smile, feeling that that simple act of generosity had created a chain of kindness that was transforming the lives of everyone around. The friendship between him and Hannah grew stronger every day, and the sense that something greater connected them was always present, even if subtly and quietly. Days turned into weeks, and Hannah's life took a new direction. Adapting to her role as manager of the gas station wasn't easy, but with Ethan's support and the help of her team, she proved herself to be a dedicated and fair leader. Each challenge she faced in her day-to-day work was a new opportunity to prove, to herself and to others, that she was capable of much more than she had imagined. The employees who once viewed her with skepticism, like Ted, now deeply respected her. Under her management, the atmosphere at the station became lighter and more welcoming. Hannah cared about every detail, from customer service to the well-being of her co-workers. Small acts of kindness became part of the routine. People who frequented the station began to notice the difference. The energy there was different, warmer, and more human. But despite everything, the gas station wasn't the only change. Slowly, she and Ethan began to see each other more often outside of work. Although their relationship had started professionally, a genuine friendship blossomed between them. They shared stories, personal challenges, and conversations about life in general. Ethan, who had once been seen as just a serious and distant businessman, revealed a more human and vulnerable side that few people knew. One evening, after a long day of work, Ethan invited Hannah and her family over for dinner at his place. It was his way of thanking her for everything she had done, not only for his father, Tom, but also for the positive impact she had brought to the gas station and to his life. "You're part of the reason I'm seeing the world differently, Hannah," Ethan said with a sincere smile as he served the food at the table. Tom, who was also there, laughed as he told old stories from his youth, while Lily listened intently, fascinated by the adventures of the past. Evelyn, observing everything around her, felt a wave of gratitude. Her daughter, who had faced so many hardships, was now in a better place. And although financial struggles still existed, Evelyn knew that what mattered most wasn't money, but the genuine connections we build with others. "I'm so happy to see my daughter flourishing like this," Evelyn said, looking lovingly at Hannah. "She's always been strong, but now I see she's found a path that truly suits her." Hannah smiled, touched by her mother's words. For so long, she had only focused on surviving, on providing the basics for her family, that she had forgotten how important it was to find a reason to dream, to believe in something bigger. After dinner, while Lily played with Tom in the yard and Evelyn chatted with Ethan, Hannah took a moment to reflect. She walked to the garden, lit by small lamps, where the soft sound of the wind rustling through the trees brought her peace. Ethan approached her, holding a cup of tea, and smiled. "Deep in thought?" he asked gently. "A little," Hannah admitted. "It doesn't feel real. A few months ago I was desperate, not knowing how I'd support my family. Now here we are, and I feel like things are finally falling into place." Ethan nodded, taking a sip of his tea. "Life has a funny way of putting the right people in our path at the right moments," he said, gazing at the horizon. "Sometimes the biggest changes come from the simplest gestures, like what you did for my dad." Hannah smiled, remembering that day at the gas station, which seemed so far away yet so present at the same time. A small act of kindness, a choice she made without expecting anything in return, ended up changing not only her life, but also the lives of those around her. "Do you think all of this was luck?" Hannah asked, thoughtful. "Or do you think some things are meant to happen?" Ethan looked at her kindly, pondering the question. "I think we create our own destiny, but I also believe the universe gives us opportunities. It's up to us to see them and seize them," he replied. "And you did that. You saw an opportunity to do good when no one else did." Hannah felt a warmth in her chest. Ethan's words resonated deeply with her. Somehow, the friendship that had formed between them was proof that, even amidst difficulties, life always offered a new chance to start over. In the following weeks, Hannah continued to grow in her new role as manager. Over time, the gas station began to attract more customers, and even Philip, the manager who had fired her, admitted he had underestimated her abilities. He grew to respect her deeply, recognizing the positive impact Hannah had made on the business. But the greatest gift of all came on a quiet afternoon when Ethan visited the gas station to discuss some new expansion projects. Upon arriving, he found Hannah on the phone, laughing joyfully as Lily and Evelyn watched from home. "Looks like things are going well," Ethan said with a smile. Hannah hung up the phone and turned to him, her eyes sparkling. "Really well, actually. I just got some amazing news," she said, excited. "A local company is interested in partnering with us. This will bring more jobs and stability to the station and to the town." Ethan smiled, feeling proud of her. "I knew you'd make it," Hannah laughed, still absorbing the good news. "I had a lot of help," she said, looking gratefully at Ethan. Their friendship had grown stronger over time. Though they never developed a romantic relationship, the bond they shared was deep, based on mutual respect and trust. Sometimes help comes from where we least expect it, Ethan replied with a gentle smile. Hannah looked at him, finally feeling at peace. She had overcome so many challenges, and now she was ready to face the future with courage and hope. The small town of Green Hollow, with its green hills and quiet roads, was still the same simple place. But for Hannah, everything had changed. Through small gestures, she had transformed her life, finding not only a new career, but also a new purpose. And in the end, she knew it all began with a simple act of kindness that, without her realizing it, had opened doors to a bright future. Thank you so much for following this heartwarming story. If you enjoyed it, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. We have amazing stories almost every day, and you can explore other videos from the links appearing on your screen now. Don't miss out on these exciting adventures waiting for you.